Alabama is the fastest team in the league. They've shot 491 threes so far through 16 games. They're 10th in the country at rim shot percentage. They play incredibly fast. It's worth debate that they're the most talented team in the league from top to bottom, arguably one of the more talented teams in the country. The offensive rebound, they're the best in our league. And so they put stress on you relative to their pace, relative to their talent. Multiple guys that can shoot threes, multiple guys that can get it to the rim. And then they have over 9 players averaging more than 1 offensive rebound a game. I've really enjoyed studying them. I wish we didn't have to play them. They're ultra good.
And y'all been doing pretty well lately, on the defensive board. So
yeah, it's we have been better, and it'll be paramount today. We studied with our guys a little bit and just showed them, like when you play certain teams, there are certain guys that go to the offensive glass, and you can identify those guys in preparation for the game. Alabama, you can't because there's so many of them. 9 guys that average more than 1 offensive rebound a game. I've never seen that statistically in a league. And that's why we're second in offensive rebound percentage. They're first. And I think that'll end up being the tipping point in the game. They can, it was a 1 or 2 possession game against South Carolina early in the second half, and then with a few minutes left to go, they had scored 90 because they come in waves. Scoring at the rim, and then when you protect the rim, whatever your strategy is on trying to slow them down at the rim, they're going to spray it out, and they have one guy on their team, their starting post player, that doesn't shoot threes.
What do you make of a team that goes out and beats Gonzaga and beats Baylor and Houston and some of the others, and then loses some of the games that they've lost that are?
I don't know any of those players, so it's hard to know. Obviously, I haven't seen them practice. I know the games that you're talking about. I know bits and pieces of that. But when they're on all cylinders, they're good enough to beat anybody in the country. They're really good. And, I don't know exactly why, particularly this late in the year, but I only knew bits and pieces of who they were. Maybe because who they were playing before we played, there just wasn't a lot of crossover. Sometimes when you get this late in the year and you begin to study an opponent for the first time, you really already know what it is because you've seen them so many times, even though you were watching the other team they were playing. That hasn't been the case with Alabama. And so I started Sunday after church beginning to watch and study and kind of research, and it's rare that, this was the transition. We played every Tuesday and Saturday in February, so this is the first Wednesday game we've had since January. And so it was unique that we were off on Sunday and then still had Monday and Tuesday before we played. So I was able to do a little bit more than I typically am able to do. And I can't specifically answer why, but boy, they're good. I mean, good. Players from all over the world on their team. And I think I said it to Travis the other night on the Zoom. I mean, what Coach Oates has done in a short period of time rivals what Coach Saban did in a short period of time as far as the best players, regardless of locale, and that's what's happening with their basketball program.
Does it help at all the way you guys played on the road last, against Ole Miss and the way you started? Does that help with the confidence going into playing such a good team on the road?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's Zach, Evie, Dre, Q. We've only played them one time since we've lived here, and that was at their place. And they played That was our first year. That was Coach Oates' first year. I think he was beginning to install money ball, how he wants to play. They shoot the least amount of wood twos in the league. It's threes, it's dunks, and it's free throws. And so I know there were some holdovers from the previous regime. So maybe he would say they played a little different, but they're full throttle money ball now. But even in that game, it was still a very fast-paced game. Our guards will have to rebound at a very high rate. It needs to be our season high in guard rebounds, because if you shoot 30, they've shot 1,010 shots in SEC play, and 491 are from three. It's remarkable.
Henry said it wasn't any surprise to him that Manny was able to get himself into the starting lineup the last few games with what he's been able to do at practice. Is that was he a guy that was kind of on the cusp there, and what has he brought so far, do you think, in those last two games?
Yeah, I think what I've said publicly about Mo has been very consistent. He may be one of the most beautiful human beings that I've ever coached. He has great wisdom for his age. I think that's how his parents raised him. And then he has someone real close to his family that has been involved in Manny's life forever, in his life and in his basketball life. And he is 1,000% that adult built on the right stuff. And so Mo has processed the ups and downs, the struggle, the fun, the learning at a very mature rate. And I think a lot of that has to do with that guy. I think because he's not been on such an emotional roller coaster the way most freshmen are, and because his consistency and how he works belies his age. Like he's not going to take a day off, even if it's our day off. And he's very regimented in his time in the film room, in his time in the weight room, in his time in the training room, in his extra shooting time. Very, very old-like. And you don't see that very often. The only player that I've ever coached like that was Nikhil Alexander-Walker. He was a pro in how he went about his day. And Mo has a lot of those same characteristics. Incredible gifts and talents, but he's a very good steward of them in a very mature way, not egotistical. He's been very observant to our older guys. I know Henry's only a year older, but like Boots and he are very close. Q and him are very close in a big brother sort of way, like, you're going to be special. Let me say something to you. Let me show you something. And he's very receptive of that. And you never know that stuff, Travis. Like recruiting rankings, that doesn't tell you that until you have to hook up and you have to go through good stuff and bad stuff. You never know about a player / a person / how they process things, and he does it in a very, very wise way. Anybody on the staff can coach him. Anybody on the staff can teach him. He wants to learn. In the film room, copious notes. He has sent me clips of stuff he's watching to confirm or deny what he's thinking. Like, just very old-like, very wise-like. And I think because the people that are in his sphere of influence are about the right things, and it's a very humble, you get what you earn, keep working to earn more, do it in a selfless way. I think that it's transparent to his teammates. That's just who he is. And so what ends up happening is, as things unfold, they cheer for him. Like they want him to play. They want him to start. They want him to have one of those out of this world dunks, you know, like because of how he goes about his business.
Anything else?
Coach, any thoughts? Do y'all even discuss what this game could mean for your postseason aspirations?
No, I mean, like I've told you, it's the same thing I tell our guys. I've been very transparent. We've won 3 out of 4. We won 4, we lost 8. We've won 3 out of 4. We have 1 at home. We have 1 on the road. Think about this. Alabama's 25th in the country, I think. Last week they were 20th in the country. They're a half a game ahead of us. That's just how thin the line is, right? Florida and Vanderbilt tonight. I think Vanderbilt's a half a game under us, but owns the tiebreaker over us. I think Florida's a half a game above us, and we owe the tiebreaker on them. And last week in Vegas, if you were there tonight, the line is pick 'em. So, like, that's how thin it is. What do we have to do to go to the NCAA tournament? I have my own theories before the season ever starts on what you have to do to go to the NCAA tournament. Go to the NIT. Well, they take 32 teams. There's 22 Division I teams. And if you win the regular season, I said that wrong. There's 32 teams that go to the NIT. There are 22 Division I leagues that only have 1 bid leagues. And so whoever wins the regular season, if they don't win the tournament in the 1 bid league, they take one of the 32 NIT invitations. And so it becomes a little more tricky than I think the normal person thinks. But with our team, hey, what we want to do is we want to continue to gain traction. And if we want to win at Alabama, we'll have to be better than we were at Ole Miss. And to win at Ole Miss, you have to be better than you were versus Georgia. And how's it going to play out? I don't know. But like I tell them, we have 1 week right now, and we have 1 week next week. And if you want another week or more, it's going to be dependent upon what you do this week and next week. And so to boil it down to the lowest common denominator, like all coaches say, let's win the next one. Let's go 1-0 and all of that coach speak stuff, because to some degree that's the truth.
I know this isn't the first instance of this, but you change the way you approach the game, knowing you're going against another HDI school that has a lot of the same.
Well, if you study their HDI ratings, they're different than the Fighting Texas Aggies. Their numbers are staggering. Their talent is. If you were to look at the analytics of their roster and the other 364 rosters in Division I, they're amongst the 1 percentile. And then when you diagnose how they want to play, they play to that. And when they don't, whether it's because of them or whether it's because of the opponent, that's when the numbers get skewed. And if we try to play the way Alabama plays, we have no shot. And so how do we bend it towards more how we want to play? Because if you just want to go the way they go, we're not going to go the way they go. That's not how we're built. That's not how I coach. I don't want to get into philosophical discussion, but yeah, they know all of our numbers, and I know all their numbers. Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.